bringing us here safely. We are committing this program into your care. We know you have a reason for everything. And for whichever reason we have to gather here today, we want you to come into our midst and make sure we succeed. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's put our hands together for Dr. Agyemang. I know we can do better than that. Now, probably should be standing over on this side. I think we'll go ahead and get started, and then as more people come, in fact, I believe they can join us, and then we can continue with the program. So, without further ado, what I would like to do now is to introduce our guest of honor, a lady, a consummate professor who really needs no introduction, because I think you all know her as our 2020 running mate, the NDC running mate. Let's give her a big round of applause and welcome her. I know we can do much better than that. And we talk about leadership by example. Prof was actually here before 6 o'clock. Now, isn't that something? That is leadership by example, telling us that the importance of time. Let's appreciate that. Well, okay, all right. All right, everybody, Prof has asked me to ask you to come forward and have a seat here. So please, no, we'll take care of the mosquitoes. So please indulge us. Come forward and let's be attentive and listen to what Prof has to offer. There are a lot of seats over on this side. And also on the side, okay? And please, let's at all times observe COVID protocols. We have extra masks, face masks if you don't have one, and we have some sanitizers around too. Just want to make sure that we are all covered because COVID-19 is real and it's still here with us. Okay, I think I can start the introduction now. Professor Naana Jane Opoku Agyemang is a professor of literature, School of Humanities and Legal Studies, University of Cape Coast. She has been Minister for Education, Ghana, from January 2013 to 2017, and Vice Chancellor, which means also President, of the University of Cape Coast. That is from 2008 to 2012. She is the first woman to hold the position of Vice Chancellor in Ghana. And as we all know, the running mate for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama during the 2020 elections. Prof has been the recipient of many international awards, including Officer of the Order of the Volta, which is the highest award Ghana bestows on her citizens for academic distinction. Ghana Women of Excellence Award in the category of education, Doctor of Letters, University of Cape Coast, Doctor of Humane Letters, among others. She has many publications on women in literature, oral literature in Africa, the narrative and issues in the African diaspora. Professor Naana Jane Opoku Agyemang has 3 adult children and 2 adorable grandchildren. Let's put our hands together for her. And to let you know how important this topic is to her, she actually picked the topic. Normally, what we do at DC is we look around and then see what issues are relevant and current, and then, suggest the topic. But Prof has herself picked a topic that I think is really, really very relevant and very current in the period that we're in. That is our youth, our hope. And guess what? 75% of the registered voters in Ghana between the ages of 18 to 40 are the youth. 75%. And this is the topic that we're going to talk about. So what Prof is going to talk about is you. Those of you sitting here, she's going to talk about your future and our future. Put our hands together for her and welcome her. Make her feel really, really welcome.
All right, thank you very, very much. Greetings to all of you. Thank you for showing up. I know it's a time of day where either you've closed from work or, no, as a teacher, I have to stand. Apologies for that. Yes, I chose the topic, our youth, our future, because whatever the issue is, whatever the program is, whatever is on anybody's manifesto, whatever is embedded in anybody's promise, it's about people. In the end, it is about how that issue affects people. And if 75% of our population makes up the youth, I think we are blessed indeed. Sometimes we like to see it as a problem. I've never seen it that way, because I've also been in places where it's an aging population and their problems are much worse than ours. So we are very happy to have the youth with us because of all the energies and the new thoughts that they constantly bring to bear on our thoughts, on our actions. And maybe because I have been with the youth all my life, I've come to benefit greatly from what I know the youth is capable of doing. I have so much to say about the youth. And in fact, it's taken me so long to know exactly what angle do I put on it, because there's so much I want to say. But we can't say it all one day. So maybe as time goes on, DC will be kind enough either to call me back or call somebody else back to focus on our youth, because they are our future. And I don't take these words lightly. I know what they mean. So first, I would like to sympathize with the plight that our youth go through in terms of unemployment, in terms of underemployment, in terms of fractured hopes, in terms of uncertainties. I saw a certain post going around and somebody was saying, oh, so those who studied biology and another subject don't have jobs. And another person retorted that even if you study employment, you'll still be unemployed. And I was telling myself, oh, how cynical, how terrible. And, we shouldn't get to that level where we think there's no hope. There has to be hope. There has to be a change. There has to be different ways in which we confront our problems. Because I remember those days on campus, whenever we organized the graduation ceremonies, and the students will file past, in nice clothes. Of course, it's a time for celebration. But every time after the congregations, I have felt rather depressed, in the sense that I always ask myself, so all these young people who are looking so cheerful, so beautiful, so hopeful, where are they going? After today, what is there for them? What can they do? What should we have done differently as a university? in order to ensure that when they come and shake our hands and they go, we know that they are going to survive, they're going to do good things, they are not going to feel disappointed. And I think that all of this also helped us to review some of our programs, always asking them, so if you were to take this course again, what would you see change? And when I've met many people who've come and said, oh, you taught me this course or taught me that course, I've always asked them, so in what way has this course helped you? Has it helped you in any way? If you were to come back to the campus and take the course again, what would you do? And I was fortunate enough to organize, they organized it themselves when I was named as running mate. And a lot of the students I had taught wanted to come and meet me in my home. And that was the subject of the conversation. If you were to take research methods again, if you were to take, communicative skills again, or if you were to take Commonwealth literature or any of the women in literature, whatever, women in development, what would you have liked us to tell you? Or better still, how has this course prepared you to find out more for yourself? Because the university will not teach you everything, but we set you on a certain path so you can discover things for yourself. And those conversations themselves, I think, can form a whole presentation, and we can deal with it at another time. So yes, there's all the uncertainties and so on, but I also believe that this is also the time to try to be different, not to be afraid to travel a path that is not charted, not to be afraid to do things differently, insofar as you are achieving good results for yourself. Then it is useful to try. Maybe it used to be in my time or my father's time, where they'll tell you when they finished and so on, there was everything waiting for them. In my time, it wasn't like that at all. Those days, I think, went out of the window once upon a time. Now we have to struggle on. So, what is it that we need to do? There's a lecture I was preparing for the university, and it is something I've been thinking about for a long time, even when I was a member of the faculty, especially when we introduced new programs. And I felt then, and I still feel it, especially when I came to the ministry and I studied what was happening on other campuses with other programs. And I thought that maybe we are specializing these young people too early. Maybe we need to review what liberal education should do, so that we can so prepare them that they can just move anywhere they want. Because if you straitjacket them too early, then there might be a problem. Let me use my own son's example. Of course, going to university primary school and university JHS and then going to Mfantsipim, there was no way I was going to encourage him to come to UCC. Not that he wanted to come anyway. He didn't want to come. And as a family, we had decided that when everybody finished SHS, they'll go abroad for a year. We did that in order, for many, many reasons. So he had spent 1 year. We had to convince them, of course, They also wanted to join the debate, and so that, there's no rush. Go and learn something else, learn a different culture, see how other people do things. It won't hurt you anyway. So he was there when the forms came, and I sent them to him, and he chose BCom at UCC. And I said, okay, what is your second choice? Then he chose the economics department at Lagos. I said, okay, you come. You're qualified enough to go anywhere. So I asked him, why do you want to do BCom? I said, oh, then he can finish quickly and get a job and a whole lot of things, which wasn't bad. I said, that's a good idea. But you see, you can always do business. You see, you don't have to do business as a first degree. How about doing economics and then do your master's, do an MBA? Of course, it was back and forth. We've all been that age before. So we don't take these things just sitting down. It was back and forth and back and forth. And I don't know what finally struck, and he accepted to go to the University of Ghana and do economics. So I used to ask him about the subject, what he enjoyed, and then about second year, he started really, really enjoying economics. And then he said, oh, so now I can even decide to do a second degree in banking or in finance or in, so many areas that he mentioned. That I saw that he was coming on board what I was talking about. So when he finished his first degree, I thought, now he'll go and do his MBA. Then he said, no, now he wants to do his master's in other areas of economics. And so he stayed there, did his master's, has done his PhD. The business hasn't come, but I can see how he's applying it in the current work that he does. He works with data. I don't understand all the things he does. But I'm making the point that maybe specializing them too early might be problematic. I use my own department in that paper. I use business in that paper. I use the story in that paper. Because if the person is doing business with emphasis on accounting, another is doing business with emphasis on auditing, another is doing business with emphasis on what else? The business students, are they here? On marketing. So I said, this is a poor country. I decided I want to set up a business. So I'm going to employ one with auditing, one with accounting, what is my capital? How can I pay them? Why can't I have one who can help me to set this business out? So instead of paying 3 people, even if I use 2 salaries to pay him, I'll get better returns. And he can also see his way clear. So these are some of the things that I want us to consider. So yes, the path may be difficult, but it is possible. I want you to leave this knowing that all is not lost. All cannot be lost. We can find it, we can clean it up, we can make it look good. And a lot depends on you and I. When, for example, COVID struck this country, and all borders were closed, factories were closed, imports were not available. One question that came to my mind, and I still turn it around, especially when we depend so much on imports. I asked myself that, God forbid, should this situation continue, and the borders are closed for a long time, and the factories are not working, we cannot import the tin tomatoes and the bleached oil and so on and so forth. We cannot, I don't even understand why we can't make these face masks here, but that's another story. Let's say we couldn't do, now I asked myself, so what would any government do at that time? Assuming the borders were still closed, are we going to stay here and die? Are we going to hug each other and die? Definitely not. Are we then going to see that, oh, our food is worth eating? Are we going to see then that, oh, our herbs are worth studying to see what compounds we can extract, what medications we can make? Are we still going to run down the people in the village for taking care of themselves with the herbs when we have denied them access to hospitals? When we are all denied access to hospitals because we can't import anything, what are we going to do? So this is where the hope comes in, that we have something we can grow. We cannot make ourselves so helpless. We are not a people of yesterday, as Agyemang was saying in one of his novels. We've been here for millions of years. How did we become so helpless? What happened that all of a sudden, if somebody doesn't come and give us something at cutthroat interest, we can't survive? And this is where we need you. We have not always been like this. We have not always sung for our food. Remember, we are the world. Remember that famine? Maybe you were too young to know. When there was this big famine in Ethiopia or so, and the American artists got together to sing to raise funds. And I said, yes, it's only us that people must sing to raise funds so that we can survive. And yet, in this country, we live in the best parts of the world. We live in the tropics. How can we go hungry? What really is going wrong? We need you to help us so that your future does not become bleak, so that ours does not become bleak either. So then, what will we rely on. Your reserves are reserves, and that is why you call them reserves. They will run out at some time, at some point. Your fuel reserves will run out, because you decided that everything you do must come from somewhere else. And the door to that somewhere else is closed. So what are you going to do? Can we return to that conversation and see what really do we need to import? What really can we not do here? So that we don't always owe somebody. Maybe if we owe anybody, we can owe ourselves. And we can grow ourselves. Because I believe this is also part of the direction for confidence, that you can take care of yourself. I was very, very pleasantly surprised the first time I went to Japan to realize that they are very, very food sufficient. I knew I would see the Toyotas and what else. I saw them too, but in terms of food. And they are heavily dependent on fish, sushi and so on. They have fisheries secondary schools. Secondary schools are focused only on fisheries. And I was telling myself, hey, if I bring this to my country, there'll be trouble. Because we don't even have respect for the people who feed us. How far do we think we want to go with that? We even insult them with their profession. They have not stolen anything. They have not hurt us in any way. All they're doing is providing the fish that you and I eat. And yet we see it fit to use that to insult them. How can you encourage the youth to go into a profession that for no reason at all attracts insults? How do we encourage our youth to go into farming when for no reason at all, when you misbehave in class, you go and weed? Is it true? So you see, we need to turn things around. And if we don't turn things around and generate the confidence in ourselves, we may not go as far as we can go. And I believe that we can go very, very far. So the need to become independent is very important. And whether it's political, economic, whatever, I think it begins with the self. We need to believe in ourselves, in our abilities to solve our problems. And this is where you come in as a youth. On the campus, I don't know if there's any UCC graduate here. Okay, you are. So you may remember those days when you guys used to queue in order to register. And it was terrible. I used to go for very early morning walks. So about 4:30, you see them already lined up. And I asked myself, the administration won't come till about 8. So for 4 solid hours, why does this happen? So what did we do? We called the students themselves. I said, listen, you are the ones queuing, not me. Tell me, what should I do? And it was amazing. They left. And when they came back, the software that they developed is the UCOSIS that we still use. The software that they developed, there were 3 students who did that. One was in Ghanaian languages, one was in business, and one was in religion. And that was when I threatened to close down the IT department, because if you guys are there, we've been suffering all these years without solution. And the religion and the language people are finding a solution. Then I don't see why we should open. But I'm just saying this, that you wouldn't have thought that these are the students you should ask to bring a solution like that. But they did. And we grew it to the extent that now you can get your transcript and so many services from it. So there's so much that we know you guys can do. So all we need to do is to give you a little hands up. That is why I said in my speech that what you need is hands up, not handout. Hands up so you can stand on your feet. Handout gets quickly finished. But if you can stand on your feet, you can dream of different ways of doing things. Then yes, you are going places. And Ghanaian students are so bright, and that's what sometimes makes it so painful. Those of us who've had opportunity to teach elsewhere, in some of the top universities in the world, I've always come back feeling very, very I don't know whether it's anger or frustration, because my students don't have a fraction of the facilities I saw there. And you look at the quality of their writing. Look at what they do. Look at what they think. There's a lot you guys can do. In my life as minister, I think was it Sunyani or Kumasi, one of the polytechnics, when we were in the process of turning them into technical universities. And I saw in the rector's office those days a display of many things that the students had done for project work. So I was telling him that, oh, but my brother, you don't need any money. Why don't you just go ahead and commercialize them? You know, already on the campus you have people, so why don't you commercialize them? Then he starts by giving a sigh. Then I knew what was coming wasn't very good. But I listened anyway. What was it? Because the projects were funded from external sources. And therefore, they don't even have the copyright. I said, oh my goodness. So, where should they have gone for support before signing that contract? To ensure that the fine print, you know, normally when they bring it to you, it's a fine print. Everything is Roman, maybe 12 points. But there's something that is 7.5. Normally when I get a contract like that, I ask for the soft copy. I start with a small one. I embold it. I point 16. When you read to half of it, you know you shouldn't sign this contract. Because the goodies are very clear ahead. Or your obligations. Because I used to ask myself, but why is this small print here? Were they running out of paper? You know, what is it? Because all is virtual. So why is it small print? Why is it large print? So we need to be curious, we need to ask questions, so we don't throw our birthright away and create unnecessary problems for our students. On campus also, when I became Vice Chancellor, of course I applied for the position because I've been on the campus, you know, from lecturer writer. And there were so many things I thought the university should be doing. And you know, sometimes when you tend to be the only woman on these faculty board meetings, and sometimes nobody minds you. So I thought that position would give me the opportunity to put in practice those things that I've been making noise about. And my point was that, you see, if by the definition of the country, there are bright people on the campus, right or wrong, but that's the feeling, isn't it? Yeah. So the professors are bright, the students are bright. So why should we be poor? Why should we need so many things? And there was one thing that really, really stuck in my head. I just finished my studies. We had come home, and there was severe water shortage on campus. And water tanks, you know, university organized water tank. Then I saw my colleagues struggling with the, you know, we are cited among 7 villages at UCC. And I saw us struggling with the village people over water. That's when I knew there's something seriously wrong with our education. We should find the water and share with them. So at this time, we're all the same. So why should the government spend money on us? What's the university for? So moving to this position, as I said, those were some of the thoughts in my mind. And I was telling my colleagues, me Ferrari. So I'm not going to go to the minister and beg. Okay. Our money is never enough. It won't be enough. I've been hall warden, I've been head of department, I've been dean in 2 faculties. It's never going to be enough. We should generate that money. So what did we do? Again, it's a youth I fell on. Final year students, national service people, very young faculty. You know, when they come, they are sharp. And they are not afraid to make their points heard. And they are not afraid to make mistakes. So I said, okay, what do we have that we can use? And remember at that time, I think it was that Sunny or so had been sued for advertising that it was using spring water or something funny like that. And I said, but we have Kakum. There's pristine water there. And look at all of us on campus. At that time, we had about 18,000 students on campus. and another 36,000 on distance. So whenever the distance people came, as they say, it was wahala anyway. So I said, okay, if everybody drank just one sachet of water, and we have a whole department of biochemistry, they will tell us the quality of water. So we set up a small unit there, also to help the people in town who produce water, so that their water will be just as drinkable as ours. Of course, some found the idea rather odd. In fact, Graphic gave me bad publicity. Remember, they said VC produces pure water or something like that. But I knew what I was doing, so I wasn't swayed by those comments. So now we have a huge plant on campus. And we have the water in these bottles in the University of Cape Coast. For me, it's one of the So now we are generating money. And for me, the more important point, of course, the money was important. But you see, we have a school of business. And we're always complaining that the students don't find a place to go and do practicals. Who should set up their business for you to send your students? When you have a school of business, what's the business of the school of business? If you cannot set up business on campus, look at the number of people we have on campus. Then the next issue was paper. Everybody's office was choking with paper. What paper? Students' scripts. And according to the regulations, you must keep the scripts for about 5 years before you destroy them. People may challenge the marks, the usual things, so we do that. And sometimes we also use it for our own research. So you come to anybody's office, there's a paper, those of us who are taught there for a long time, it's under the sofa, it's under the chairs, it's everywhere. So it is, okay, how about turning this paper into paper products? So I sent one young person, along with a colleague from the development office, to go and scout equipment in China for us. Because we didn't need a whole, those days, the factory is like 4 blocks, you don't. Small machine can do it. So we got the process. So we started with the shredders. We got huge shredders. So every Tuesday we'll send the tractors, the farm tractors, to go around the faculties and give us their paper. Of course, people were happy to get rid of the papers. We dusted them over and so on. We did our old warehouses that we were not using anymore became the places for the shredders, and we kept shredding the papers. Because as I say, we are spending so much money buying tissue paper. And here is paper that you can convert into tissue paper. Here is paper you can convert into paper cups, and so on and so forth. So then you have students also beginning to do their practical attachments there, So these were some of the things that and it's the youth. They were the ones who saw the need for that. Because the agreement was that 50% of all profits will go to our medical school, because our students were paying fees and it was very tough on them. So 50% will go to the medical school. Then out of the 50% that's left, 30% of that will go into the student aid. Okay, so we set up the board of student aid. And I said, we'll just put 2 lecturers there. Maybe the finance officer too. But on a board of 10, the rest will be students. You know your poor students. We don't. As far as the vice chancellor is concerned, every student will come and say, I need money. But you know those who really, really need. And I'm saying this, I'm raising all of these to let you know that there's so much you can do when you are giving a hands up. And that is why we focus so much on education. When we talk about our youth, nobody is born a youth. Is there anyone like that? No, you are not born a youth. You are born a child. You are born a baby. That is why we focus on preschool during our time, to ensure that you had a solid foundation to grow to become that youth who can take initiative, who can take calculated risks, and who can do good things for themselves. So that was also why we selected 7 out of the colleges of education and asked them to focus on preschool, because there wasn't much focus on it. We also put in our manifesto then to build 10 colleges. Those days we had 10 regions. To build specialized colleges of education for preschool education. We wanted to stop that habit of, oh, she can't teach in class 4, so send her to the daycare. No. The daycare people, they are a different generation altogether. They need, the people taking care of them need specialized care. But we noticed that we didn't have, in fact, the ratios there were very bad. They were very, very serious. And up to today, I disagreed with the 2-year. I thought it should be just 1 year, but that's another story. You know. So we did that. And after that, where do you go? Go to primary school. Why do we have such a high attrition rate? Listen, if I'm talking, as I said, there's so much to say. So I'm willing to stop at any time so we can have a conversation. Is it okay? Am I talking too much? Is it all right? Okay. So you come to the primary school and you have children who have been in primary school for 6 years in JHS and they can't read. You know that. What do you do? Are you leaving them behind and hoping those who go to secondary school will go, free or not? How about those you are leaving? How about the high attrition at the lower levels? Because when you lose that child at 8, he's dropped out at age 8, between age and 14. What are you going to do? How are you going to bring this child back on track? How about those who don't even have a chance to go at all? Not because they don't want to go. But if the primary school is 3 miles away, which mother in her right senses will set up a 6-year-old to walk 6 miles to school and back? You wait till she's about 8 or 10. Then those of us who don't have that problem can sit here and talk about this. You go at the right age. What do you know? When was the last time you went to that village? When was the last time you went there? When was the last time you saw the distances between the schools? So what should you do? So embarking on building schools was very important for us. Otherwise, you leave a solid part of your population that is waiting to become youth. You see, when we talk about the youth, you are not talking about a monolithic group. Within that age group, you have the professionals, don't you? You have those in universities, technical universities. You have those in secondary schools. You have those who've never been to school. You have the farmers. You have the fishermen. You have the cleaners. You have the security people. You have the non-professionals. They are all our youth, and they are all important. So everything we do must bear everybody in mind. And that was why we introduced the complementary basic education to reach the between 8 and 14 people. And it was so much fun, especially when we taught them in their own language. And within 9 months, we had covered 2.5 years syllabus because they understood, yes. That's how all these NGOs and you know, all these international organizations started coming into the ministry and offering us money. And I told them it's not about money, it's about strategy. Because if you start becoming dependent on their money and the money runs out, what are you going to do? Okay. But it also taught me something about the use of mother tongue. Again, that's for another presentation. Okay. We also saw that beyond the reading, the kids were not passing science and math. But they are telling us science is everywhere. Everybody uses it. Math is all around us. So what is wrong with my children that they cannot pass science and math? So you need to look at the teachers. You need to look at the books. And importantly, you need to know who wrote the books. The person who is writing the books for primary school, has he ever taught in primary school? So is this something that he thinks the primary school child should know? So again, we did a little research. I think that's part of the reason I ended up in Japan, because when I talked to one class, they told me, no, I had been there before. I was doing something else for the university when we were doing a fisheries college. That's another thing. So the things we are putting in the basket are many. You know, because when I talk to the university students and I ask them what's their favorite subject, all hands shot up. They said mathematics. I didn't say anything. Then I went to the secondary school. Same. So at the secondary school, I asked, so what subject don't you like at all? They said literature and history. I said, really? It's the opposite in my country. You know, the humanities, you have many people there, the sciences you don't. So what really is, you know, what happens in Japan to make the child like math? And what happens in Ghana to make the child not like math? So it's a project we were working on. And some of the countries also tend to be quite secretive about their syllabi. It took a long time to get that South Korea and so on, find translators, but we found that it's easy. You see, when you are teaching a child in a language he doesn't understand, he will not grasp it. You are setting him back about 3-4 years. Differential equation. Don't ask me what it means. Okay. Thermodynamics. It is just, you know, what is thermodynamics? Have you all seen the oven that they smoke fish in? Where they arrange the fish in different levels in the oven, but when it is done, everything is smoked evenly. The child's mother smokes fish. You are teaching her thermodynamics using something she doesn't understand. How is she going to grasp it? What value is she going to add to the profession her mother does? And so many things. So I saw that they were using ordinary things around the children in the homes, in the street, things they see, and in a language they understood. So why wouldn't they go up? So then you have the PISA scores and standardized tests, and we are nowhere. But you see, before all those tests, you need to step back and do your solid homework. Otherwise, you keep having these low scores, and our children keep feeling they are useless, the confidence comes down, then we are sitting here saying we are building confidence. How are we doing it? Okay, so we decided that, okay, some schools do well. Every year they pass math. What are those schools? We isolated them. There are schools where nobody passes. And I didn't want to believe that it was not possible that in this school nobody passed. Somebody can pass. What is stopping that child from passing and becoming a confident youth who can take charge of his or her life? So we disaggregated the schools. And then what we did was to go through St. Louis. We developed our own, we called it the iBox. And it was launched in one of our e-blocks. What happened was that, you see, you go to the schools and there's a computer lab. And you ask yourself, what is this lab for? It can't just be about the mouse and the cat. After you learned about the mouse, what do you use it for? How do you use this computer to understand geography? Or to understand math? Or to understand something? And especially, I almost panicked when I saw that in some, especially of the junior high schools, there wasn't much on the hard drive. I said, you're going to put this machine in the hands of a 15-year-old and give him so much space for him to download what he wants. That's not going to work. So we stopped the distribution. And before we send the computers to the schools, we put the syllabi, the reading material, and so on and so forth. And then we said, okay, since these kids are having difficulties in science and math, let's get the schools that are doing well to teach the subject and record them and then put them in the computer, so that when the child goes to the computer lab and his differential equation he doesn't understand, he'll see a teacher that looks like his own teacher. He can play it back and forth until he grasps it. And I remember when we started again, names withheld. Some countries came offering us experts, money, books. And I said, no, we also need to grow our own experts. At this rate, how are we getting out of this rut? Because we have teachers who are doing well. So let's start with them. So first we started with peer-to-peer teaching. We did group the maths teachers. We were running around the country all the time. because we wanted the quality of education to go up, and also because we believed that every child can do well. Exams are just there for us to know, one, how do the children internalize what we taught? But more importantly for me, is to know which children did I reach and which ones did I not reach. Maybe my method doesn't suit him. That is why he's not doing well. So if he didn't do well, it doesn't mean he's a bad student. It's just that I haven't found the right way to teach for him to grasp what I'm teaching. So he needed to go back to the college, to the teachers in the field, and then to the teachers in training. We introduced what we call the TTEL, Transforming Teacher Education and Learning, bringing in all these new things, and those in the field already, helping them to raise up. So I'm staying with education because that's what I know a little bit of. And so that was at the level of the lower, up to junior secondary school and into senior secondary school too. Of course, we have a high birth rate, 2.3 or so percent. It's very high. So you see, all you need to do, you go to the nearest school to your own home or your workplace. Ask the headmaster or headmistress, last year how many people applied? How about 2 years ago? You see that the number is increasing. Okay? And that is how we ended up with the shift system in this country. We did everything to abolish it because we knew that we were compromising the future youth. We did everything to get rid of it. And I want to always thank Honorable Opoku Vanderpoel for understanding the millennium schools. He built the 3 floors because we said, the sky is the limit. So why do you keep building these 6 units and 9 units? Where is it going? So every year you are building schools. Why don't you build 3, 4 floors? So that is how we came up with our A block. And even when we were doing our A block, it's the youth that helped us. We asked those who had been to day schools, were day schools your first choice? Most of them no. Why is it not their first choice? The place doesn't look nice. We've all been at that age. Yes, we don't know how to take care of things, but we know that things are nice. We know. So he goes to Achimota or Wesley Girls and sees the flowers and the lawns. Already he has identified himself with success or herself with success. The job is done. 50% she's going to succeed. But when she goes and sees this, run-down place, the roof is all over the place, the stairs are broken, there's a tired-looking bench there in a room called the workshop. He's already given up. He even feels that his father doesn't like him. And that is why he's brought him to a school like that. So he's already given up. So you need to go in and spruce up the schools. And that was why we selected 125 schools and did expansion. New things like science labs, libraries, dormitories, classrooms, whatever. And another 175 for repairs. Those sad-looking schools. And all you needed to do was replace the louvers, replace the mosquito nets, tile the floor instead of the cement thing, paint it, put some nice, fit the computer lab, retrain the teachers, and let the students enter the place feeling that this is a place of success. So you remember that during our time, when we were having the Best Teacher Award, we also included the Best School Award. When you go to a day school and there's no washroom, when you go to a primary school and there's no water, what are you teaching the children? And when you ask the teachers, so maybe there's one washroom that the teachers have locked for themselves. So it's okay. So what do the children do? Oh, they go to the bush. Did I send my child to come to the school to use the bush? So what habit is my child bringing home? When the school should rather complement what I'm doing or even do better. So you see, all those interventions we did, they were not just for the fun of it. The E-blocks you know about. The 2 new universities from scratch you know about. It was just the land we got you know about. Turning the polytechnics to technical universities, we need a whole lecture on it. Because if you keep relying on primary commodities and you don't add any value, who are the people going to add the value by your technicians? Why do you train them? Where are they? You don't just go and tell people, oh, it's better to have skills. Telling it doesn't do all of it. You must demonstrate. So when very serious discussion with the Public Services Commission, even about how salaries are set, because you say that when he has a degree, then he goes up. A degree in what? The person's job requires a diploma. That's what the requirement is. So why is it that 1,000 cedis or 1,005 should make him run away from what we need to come over here because he'll get more? Give the money to him. So value the work that they're doing. When they were doing the single spine, some of us thought that that's what the exercise was about. It turned out to be something else. The rest they say is history. So that was why it was so important for us to retool the technical schools. We selected 13 of them. That was why it was so important for us to turn the polytechnics to technical universities. So after he has a diploma, what is left? I've had people in my classes, English, coming from the polytechnics because they want degree. And I used to ask myself, what a waste. So just one degree they want, they must leave secondary school, go to the polytechnic for 3 years, while their classmates who came to the university is about to get the degree, they will do 3 years there, go and work for 2 years, that's 5. Then if they have first class, they come and do 2 years at the university, that's 7. And if they have third or so, they do 4 years. So a small 1 degree is taking 10 years. Why wouldn't you frustrate that youth? After a while, he's even giving up on life. How old is he going to be when he starts working? So you see, so we added value. We reviewed the programs at the polytechnics. We set up the benchmarks. That was government initiative. So it was government's business to go into all the labs to see what equipment needed upgrading, to see what lab technicians needed retraining, to see what further degrees the tutors needed. It became our cost, but it is worth it. It is really, really worth it. You have all these, some countries have done very well through cottage businesses. We have our cocoa pots and so on. People use them, make electricity, and there's nothing wrong with it. What value are we adding to that? Just recently, we saw on the social media, China drying its cocoa, etc. I say, shame on us. When we're doing these technical schools, we got so much bashing, you think we're going to kill some people's children. But if you don't raise the value, and you always keep it, oh, we need low-level people. We need low-level. Isn't that our song? Our hymn. Oh, low-level, they'll be low for you. Others are raising high-level technicians. And they keep coming to your country and telling you, oh, we don't have the expertise we want. So they keep bringing their foreign people to employ. Isn't it true? Yep. And your youth are walking around the streets not knowing what to do. So the question for some of us was that, okay, these technicians that are coming, what skills are they coming with? So let's go to the businesses. Let's get the data of all the non-Ghanaians there. What skills have they brought? Where did they train? What do they know? And you know that your children can also learn. They can also get there. But you've capped their training at diploma. Why? Why can't you raise it to degree and second degree? Who says that the plumber should only be from SHS? Says who? Why isn't the plumber also part of the team that creates the material for plumbing? So these were some of the thoughts. And it's all about opening the economy. It's all about raising the value of our youth because we knew you were capable. So we got the bashing, we are turning everything to a university, they'll come out because a lot of people did not even bother to read the material. So the final thing I want to end is that you need to believe in yourself. If you decide to rely on information from your detractor, you are going nowhere. Oh, that's what they are saying. What are you saying? What are you saying? And what are your words based on? What is the basis of your conclusion? Is somebody saying that for you, or that is something you want to say based on ABC? All this thing we heard about, oh, NDC people, we haven't been to school and a whole lot. Says who? Have you seen a government that has not been to school pay so much attention to education? Have you seen that? And the youth, you are the ones to see the contradiction in that statement. How do you fall for it? I don't get it. To be interested in the youth is to be interested in their training. It is to ensure they have solid basic education. It's to ensure they are directing themselves to the appropriate professions with the proper qualifications. Who does that? Who builds medical schools in this country? Who builds universities? Who turns technical polytechnics to technical universities? Who builds e-blocks in this country? Who introduces quality interventions to ensure that we are shining, WAEC or not? Who ensures that our students from the so-called Saito travel abroad and they beat everybody? So how can anybody tell you that? And how can some of us believe it? In the 4 years you were at the university, what did that government do for you? Name one project they completed. One they initiated and completed. And when they talk about e-blocks, we completed this, they completed that. It's wrong language. They should tell us the ones they started and completed. Not the ones they completed. We have many 90–80%. So if you come and do that, don't tell us you've done a good job. Tell us the ones you took the sword, to go and lay the foundation and build. That's what we are talking about. So I want to stop here and thank you very much for your attention.
Please, let's put our hands together again for Prof. Thank you so much for the lecture. Prof has talked about a lot of things that I'll just kind of hit on a couple of them. One of the last things that she talked about is us believing in yourself, and also value addition, and hands up is better than hand out. These are the things, kind of looking to ourselves to solve our own problems. It looks to me like